The morning sun filtered through the windows of Vanessa's small apartment, creating a play of light and shadow on the floor. She was sitting at her work desk, surrounded by piles of papers and a cup of coffee that had already gone cold. The words danced in her mind, but the frantic beating of her heart distracted her. A new email had arrived, and it wasn't just any email. It was a proposal from Ethan Blake, the reclusive billionaire who was always in the spotlight but rarely seen. "Vanessa, I need your help," the message began, and she frowned, curiosity taking over. "I'm dealing with a potential information leak in my company. We need someone who can investigate without raising suspicion." The words echoed in her mind as she pondered. A job for the tech magnate? What was he really hiding? Vanessa took a deep breath, remembering her past experiences. Working as a journalist in a male-dominated world wasn't easy, and she knew that every opportunity could be the key to a fresh start. Even so, the idea of investigating a billionaire shrouded in mystery intrigued her. Why doesn't he call a private detective? She thought. But the idea of uncovering secrets and perhaps venturing into a world she only knew through reporting drew her in. That morning, as she prepared for the new adventure, Vanessa revisited her past. She recalled the moments when she felt invisible, ignored in meetings where her opinions were disregarded. "You can't be so emotional, Vanessa. Journalism isn't the place for that," echoed the voice of an old editor in her mind. But she knew that her passion for the truth was what made her different. "If they don't see my worth, I'll show them," she muttered to herself, determined. With her heart racing, Vanessa decided to accept Ethan's proposal. What could go wrong? She soon found herself imagining what she might uncover alongside the enigmatic billionaire. The idea of meeting him was both exciting and terrifying. "Calm down, Vanessa. Professionalism above all," she reminded herself, adjusting her blouse before leaving for the meeting. Ethan's office was on one of the upper floors of a luxurious skyscraper, with a breathtaking view of the city below. Upon entering, Vanessa was met with a sophisticated environment, decorated with contemporary art and elegant furniture. The air was filled with a faint scent of wood and leather, and she felt a shiver of anticipation. Ethan appeared, and the atmosphere instantly changed. Tall and imposing, he had a magnetic presence. Dark, well-groomed hair and penetrating eyes that seemed to read her soul. "Vanessa," he said, extending his hand. "Thank you for coming." "It's a pleasure," she replied, trying to hide the nervousness in her voice. "I received your email. What exactly do you need me to investigate?" Ethan took a moment to respond, as if weighing his words. "We are facing a potential leak of confidential information. I can't trust just anyone. What you uncover could change everything for my company." "Aren't you afraid I might expose something you don't want to be revealed?" Vanessa asked, seeking to understand his true motivation. He smiled enigmatically, but there was a shadow in his gaze. "I trust you, Vanessa, and I'm willing to give you the freedom to investigate as you see fit." The tension in the air was palpable. As they spoke, Vanessa couldn't help but notice the way Ethan moved, as if he was always in control, but there was a vulnerability she couldn't pinpoint. "And if I find something that compromises your reputation?" she asked, challenging him. "If you do, I hope you know how to handle it. The truth is always more powerful than the lie," Ethan said, his voice low but firm. Vanessa felt a chill in her stomach. He was right, but the uncertainty about what lay behind that facade of confidence intrigued her. As she prepared for the investigation, a mix of excitement and fear enveloped her. She knew she was about to enter a dangerous game, and the line between passion and professional duty began to blur. Vanessa sat at a busy cafe table in the city center, surrounded by the buzz of voices and the intense aroma of fresh coffee. Her thoughts were far away, immersed in the new mission that awaited her. With her laptop open in front of her, she began to research Ethan's company, Encom, while leafing through notes she had made during their meeting. The atmosphere around her seemed distant, almost irrelevant compared to the complexity unfolding in her mind. The first clue emerged when she analyzed a financial report that at first glance seemed normal. However, when detailing the numbers, a pattern began to emerge. There were significant transactions with suppliers that were uncommon and seemed to underestimate the value of the services provided. Vanessa made quick notes, her heart racing with the possibility of having found something valuable. "This is what you need, Vanessa. A scoop, a scandal," she murmured to herself as she typed frantically. But at the same time, a sense of unease began to settle in. What if she was getting involved in something much bigger than she imagined? After a few hours of research, Vanessa decided it was time to interact with Encom's employees. She knew that the best way to uncover the truth was by talking to those who worked there. So, she headed to a nearby bar where employees usually relaxed after a long day at work. As soon as she entered, her eyes fixed on a group of 3 people who seemed to be having a lively discussion. The tension between them was palpable, and she realized they could be a valuable source of information. With a confident smile, she approached them. "Hi, everyone. Can I join you?" she asked, trying to appear casual. One of the men, with messy hair and a t-shirt displaying the Uncom logo, looked at her suspiciously. "Depends. Who are you?" "I'm Vanessa, a journalist. I'm working on a story about Encom and would like to hear your opinions on the work environment here." The woman in the group, with an intrigued look, leaned forward. "What exactly do you want to know?" Vanessa took a deep breath, aware that she needed to be careful. "About the company culture. I've heard rumors that some employees aren't satisfied. What do you think about that?" Soon, the words began to flow. The employees talked about the constant pressure, tight deadlines, and lack of recognition. Vanessa listened attentively, noting every detail, feeling a mix of empathy and excitement. They seemed to open up, as if her presence offered a safe space to share their frustrations. "And what about the projects you've been working on?" she asked, already knowing that this was the key to unraveling the conspiracy she was seeking. The man, who seemed more reserved, with a worried expression, hesitated before speaking. "There have been some strange changes. Some contracts are being closed with suppliers we've never heard of before. It's like someone is manipulating everything from the inside." Vanessa's heart raced. "Are you sure?" He nodded, his brown eyes heavy with concern. "Yes, and there are rumors that someone high up is involved. But we can't talk more here. It could be dangerous." After exchanging a few more words, Vanessa said goodbye, thanking them for their courage in sharing their stories. As she left the bar, a wave of adrenaline coursed through her. She was getting closer to the truth, but doubt still lingered in her mind. How would Ethan react to this? And more importantly, could she trust him? That night, after reviewing her notes, Vanessa received a message from Ethan. "Can we meet tomorrow? We need to talk about the investigation." She hesitated for a moment, her heart racing. What did he really know? And why the urgency? "Sure," she replied, trying to stay calm. But the truth was that the tension between them left her restless. The next day, when they met in a more secluded cafe, the atmosphere was charged with palpable tension. Ethan was sitting, waiting for her, his expression serious and focused. "Did you find anything?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yes, but we need to have an honest conversation about it," Vanessa replied, realizing that the moment to open her heart was approaching. She was about to reveal not only her discoveries, but also her conflicting emotions for him. Before she could continue, Ethan interrupted. "I trust you, Vanessa, but there's more at stake. You need to know that if you dig deeper, you could end up getting hurt." "And you? What are you hiding?" Vanessa questioned, feeling a mix of frustration and desire. The words hung in the air, and the chemistry between them seemed to explode with every passing moment. She needed answers, but she also knew that her heart was at stake. Ethan's eyes fixed on her intensely. "I don't want this to become personal, but it's hard to ignore what I'm feeling for you." Vanessa swallowed hard. The tension was almost unbearable, and her feelings for Ethan were growing, complicating a mission that was already full of uncertainties. "We need to focus on the investigation, Ethan. We can't let ourselves be carried away by this right now." The conversation took an unexpected turn, and Vanessa realized that the line between love and duty was blurring before her. What seemed like a simple investigation now became a labyrinth of emotions and secrets that she needed to unravel. Vanessa sat at the meeting table with a folder full of documents and notes, her heart racing. The atmosphere was heavy with tension, and the daylight streaming through the wide windows felt almost oppressive. Ethan was in front of her, his gaze fixed, as if he was waiting for a revelation that could change the course of events. She took a deep breath, preparing to expose her findings. "Ethan, I found some information that might be concerning," she began, her voice firm but with a slight tremor. "It seems there's a conspiracy going on inside your company. Some people are dissatisfied and may be plotting against you. I managed to talk to some employees." "And what did they say?" Ethan interrupted, leaning forward, his eyes intense and curious. "They mentioned that there's an exchange of information that shouldn't be circulating, reports being manipulated, and even some veiled threats to those who oppose it," she explained, showing him some copies of emails she had managed to recover. "It seems that someone is trying to destabilize your position, Ethan." Ethan took the documents, examining them carefully. Silence spread through the room, and Vanessa felt the tension rising. She knew the situation was delicate, but she also felt that the trust being built between them was an important factor. "I want to help you find out who's behind this," she continued, her gaze firm on Ethan. To her surprise, a smile formed on Ethan's lips. "That's something I really appreciate, Vanessa. I didn't expect you to get so involved," he said, his voice soft and encouraging. "Let's work together. With you by my side, I feel we can unravel this plot." The partnership proposed by Ethan brought a mix of relief and excitement to Vanessa. She not only felt useful, but there was also something deeper forming between them. "So, what's the next step?" she asked, trying to stay focused on the mission. "We need more information. I'll have to meet with some people in the company who can help us better understand what's going on," Ethan replied, getting up and walking to the window. "But you have to be careful. If someone is really involved in this conspiracy, they won't hesitate to act to protect their interests. You could be in danger." Vanessa's eyes sparkled with determination. "I won't back down, Ethan. This is my mission, and I can't let fear paralyze me." The firmness in her voice echoed through the room, and Ethan looked at her with admiration. "I admire your courage, Vanessa. That's rare in our field," he said, turning to her. "But remember, you're not alone. We'll face this together." The conversation flowed naturally, and as they shared ideas and strategies, the tension between them seemed to grow. Vanessa felt the adrenaline running through her veins, but not just because of the investigation. There was something more, a connection that went beyond the professional. In the midst of this exchange, a disturbing thought arose in Vanessa's mind. One of the employees she had interviewed was someone she trusted, but now she began to doubt whether she could really trust everyone. "Ethan, what if someone close to us is one of the conspirators?" she questioned, the concern evident in her tone. Ethan frowned, thoughtful. "We can't rule out that possibility. We need to investigate each of those involved, but carefully. What did you find out about that employee who spoke to you?" "He seemed genuine, but now I'm wondering if he might have a hidden agenda," Vanessa replied, her mind spinning with possibilities. "We need to be shrewd." The conversation continued, but distrust began to settle in Vanessa's heart. In a moment of vulnerability, Ethan approached her, their gazes locking intensely. "We'll get through this together, Vanessa. I trust you," he said, his voice low and persuasive. At that moment, Vanessa felt an uncontrollable impulse. Without thinking, she leaned in and kissed him, a kiss filled with emotion and the need to connect amidst the chaos. It was as if the world around them had disappeared, and all that remained was that exchange of feelings. However, the moment was abruptly interrupted by the insistent ringing of Ethan's phone. He pulled away, looking at the screen. "Sorry, I need to take this," he said, clearly reluctant to part from her. Vanessa felt a chill in her stomach. What could be so urgent? Ethan answered, and his eyes changed, now filled with worry. "Yes, what happened?" he spoke, his voice tense. The expression on his face made Vanessa's heart race. Something wasn't right, and she couldn't help but wonder if what was about to be revealed would change everything again. The phone rang, echoing in the silence of Ethan's office. Vanessa, who was absorbed in her notes, looked up, realizing that he was on a call. Ethan, with a serious expression and clenched jaw, seemed to absorb every word he was hearing. When he hung up, he let out a heavy sigh, as if the weight of the world was on his shoulders. "It was the board," he said, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "They're worried about the rumors, and rightly so. Someone inside the company is playing dirty. Vanessa felt a chill in her stomach. Do you think this sabotage is linked to the competition? I received a call from a rival executive. He wasn't, well, not very subtle in his threats. Ethan's gaze intensified. If he's behind this, we can't waste any time. We need to find out who the traitor sabotaging my company is. And more importantly, we need to make sure you're safe. I can take care of myself, Vanessa replied, with a determination that surprised even herself. But I'm willing to help. Let's expose whoever is behind this. Ethan nodded, and a loaded silence settled between them. The tension in the air was palpable, and Vanessa could feel her heart racing. It was as if they were in a bubble, isolated from the outside world, where nothing else mattered except the two of them and the mission ahead. So, what's the plan? She asked, breaking the silence. We need a discreet approach. You have access to company files and know some of the employees. Maybe we can find clues through their complaints. I'll need you to help me figure out who's behind this conspiracy, said Ethan, his voice firm and determined. Vanessa felt a wave of adrenaline. We're in this together, Ethan. I won't let them bring you down. As they discussed the next steps, the atmosphere between them became increasingly electric. The touch of their hands as they passed a document, the glances that lasted a second longer than necessary, all contributed to the growing tension. Vanessa remembered the last time they were so close, the kiss that almost changed everything between them. She still felt the warmth of that memory. You really cared about what happened between us, didn't you? Ethan asked, breaking the moment with a sincerity that caught her by surprise. Yes, of course I did, but we're in a complicated situation now, Vanessa replied, hesitant. We need to focus on what matters. I know, he said, his gaze becoming intense, but I can't stop thinking that when all this is over, we could have a chance. Vanessa swallowed hard, her heart racing. Ethan, we can't mix things up. We need to be professional. Professional, yes, but that doesn't mean we can't be human. I see you, Vanessa. I see who you are, and that goes beyond work. The sincerity of his words hit her like a bolt of lightning. She pulled away slightly, trying to compose herself. Let's focus on the investigation. Then we can discuss what we want, if there's still a later. Ethan nodded, a determined gleam in his eyes. Right. Let's start digging for information. If the sabotage is coming from within, we need to find the cracks in the system. The night progressed, and as they advanced in the investigation, the atmosphere of tension mingled with a growing emotional connection. Vanessa found herself increasingly impressed by Ethan's determination and the complexity of his life. He was more than an enigmatic billionaire. He was a man fighting against dark forces, willing to protect his legacy. As they reviewed documents and analyzed emails, Vanessa realized that their relationship was evolving into something deeper. The desire wasn't just physical, there was an emotional connection that challenged her convictions. She needed to remember that, in the end, they were in a dangerous game and they couldn't allow themselves to be distracted. Look at this, Vanessa said, pointing to a suspicious email she had found. This employee is communicating with someone outside the company. We can investigate this. Ethan leaned in to see the computer screen, the proximity between them creating palpable tension. Let's find out who it is and what they're plotting, he said, his eyes fixed on hers. At that moment, Vanessa knew they were on a path full of dangers, but Ethan's determination and her own will to fight for what was right drove her. Whatever was to come, they would face it together. The gala was in full swing when Vanessa and Ethan arrived. The glow of the chandeliers reflected off the crystal glasses, while soft music filled the air. The atmosphere was elegant, filled with well-dressed people, but the tension between the two was palpable. They moved among the guests with rehearsed smiles, but their eyes met constantly, betraying the emotions they were trying to hide. Remember what we talked about? Ethan whispered, leaning closer to Vanessa. Keep your eyes open. Someone here might know more than they let on. I know, she replied, her heart racing at his closeness. But we can't let this distract us. We have a job to do. The guests danced around them, and as they moved a little away from the dance floor, Vanessa spotted a man in a corner, gesturing discreetly. He seemed nervous, looking around as if waiting for someone. Her journalist instinct kicked in. Ethan, over there, Vanessa said, discreetly pointing to the man. I think he might have information. Be careful, Vanessa, Ethan warned, his tone serious, revealing his concern. Let's be discreet. We can't expose ourselves. Vanessa nodded, her heart pounding with adrenaline. They approached the man, who was now in conversation with another person. But what caught Vanessa's attention most was the glint of a necklace on a nearby woman. She looked familiar. More intrigued than ever, Vanessa decided she needed to infiltrate that conversation. I'll talk to him, Vanessa said, determined. You cover me. No, Vanessa, it's too risky, Ethan protested, but Vanessa was already moving away, determined to follow her instinct. With a confident smile, she approached the group and introduced herself. Sorry to interrupt, she said, her voice smooth. I overheard a bit of the conversation and got curious. What are you discussing about the company? The man looked at her suspiciously. It's none of your business, he replied, his tone brusque. But Vanessa wasn't ready to give up. Actually, it might be, she insisted, trying to sound friendly. I'm a journalist, and I'm investigating some irregularities. Maybe I can help. The woman next to the man frowned, but before anyone could respond, Vanessa realized she had exposed herself too much. The man stared at her for a moment, and in a quick move, pulled her into a secluded corner, away from prying eyes. You shouldn't be here, he said, his voice low and threatening. If you keep asking questions, you might get hurt. Vanessa's heart raced. What do you know about the sabotage in Ethan's company? She challenged, trying to keep her composure. You don't understand what you're doing, he whispered, but before he could go further, the door burst open and Ethan appeared, his expression full of concern. Vanessa, he called out, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on her. The relief quickly turned to fury when he saw the man holding her arm. Let her go! Ethan, no! Vanessa shouted, but the warning was in vain. Ethan advanced, and the man prepared for a confrontation. The tension in the air was electric, and the situation quickly turned chaotic. The guests began to watch, some with curiosity, others with fear. It was a moment of pure adrenaline. Ethan landed a punch on the man, who pushed him back, causing Vanessa to lose her balance. She found herself trapped between the two, but there was no time to think. Instinctively, she launched herself towards Ethan. Let's go, she shouted, pulling him towards the exit. But before they could escape, a group of henchmen appeared, blocking the way. It's time to end this, one of the henchmen said, with a menacing smile. Watch out, Vanessa screamed, but Ethan was one step ahead, moving with surprising agility. He pushed Vanessa aside, facing the henchman with fierce determination. Run, he ordered, his voice firm. Go. Without hesitation, Vanessa did as he said, running towards the exit, but not without looking back. Ethan was fighting, and even amidst the chaos, she felt a growing wave of emotion. What started as an investigation had turned into something much more intense between them. Finally, Ethan managed to break free from the henchman and reached Vanessa. Let's go, he said, grabbing her hand and pulling her out of the place, into the safety of the city's illuminated streets. The adrenaline was still coursing through their veins as they stopped at a corner, breathless and in shock. Vanessa looked into Ethan's eyes, and the connection between them intensified. What had started as a mission had become a struggle for survival, and now, more than ever, they needed each other. The atmosphere in Ethan's office was heavy with tension as Vanessa reviewed the evidence they had collected. The morning sun filtered through the large windows, illuminating their serious faces. What should have been a moment of celebration for uncovering the betrayal had become a race against time. The betrayal, revealed in the messages Vanessa had read, came from someone Ethan considered a close friend, Lucas, the company's CFO. Ethan, this is worse than we imagined. Lucas wasn't just sabotaging your career, he also involved others in his plot, Vanessa said, her voice firm but tinged with concern. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in his eyes. I can't believe someone I've trusted for so many years could do this. We need to expose this to the public before he has a chance to defend himself. Let's do it at the press conference. The evidence is overwhelming, and if you speak out now, you can prevent him from running away with the story, Vanessa suggested, looking into Ethan's eyes. She knew he was going through a tough time, but she also felt the need to act quickly. He nodded, his expression determined. You're right. Let's expose the truth. At the press conference, the room was full of reporters and cameras. The constant murmur diminished as Ethan prepared to speak. Vanessa was by his side, her heart racing as she held the folders with the evidence. Ethan took a deep breath and began to speak, his voice echoing through the room. Today, I'm coming forward to reveal a betrayal that occurred within my own company. Lucas, my former friend and colleague, has been behind a series of sabotages that targeted not only me, but all the employees who believe in our project, Ethan declared, his voice firm. A murmur spread through the room as he presented the evidence, the messages displayed on a big screen. Vanessa watched with pride and nervousness, knowing that the truth was finally being revealed. Some reporters' gazes shifted from Ethan to her, but she remained focused, aware of how crucial that moment was. This evidence clearly demonstrates Lucas's involvement in illegal and unethical activities, and I won't hesitate to bring him to justice, Ethan concluded, his gaze defiant. The press conference was a success. The impact of Ethan's words reverberated in the media, and soon the story spread. Vanessa and Ethan left the room together, surrounded by a mix of relief and adrenaline. "We did it," Vanessa said, a wide smile on her face as they moved away from the crowded room. "Yes, and I couldn't have done it without you," Ethan replied, his hands resting on her shoulders, looking deeply into her eyes. "You were incredible." That exchange of glances carried a new meaning. The tension between them was palpable, and Vanessa could feel her heart racing again. "I just did what needed to be done. You were also very brave." The two found themselves in a moment of silence, the world around them fading away. The connection they had built solidified with every passing second. Then, Ethan took the initiative and pulled her closer, their faces almost touching. "And now, what do we do?" he asked, his voice low and filled with emotion. "We can start fresh. We can do something amazing together beyond all this," Vanessa suggested, her eyes shining with hope. "I want that, Vanessa. I want to work alongside you and build a future that involves both our passion for the truth and what we feel for each other," Ethan declared, his tone sincere. She smiled, feeling a wave of happiness. "That sounds perfect." The connection between them was sealed with a gentle kiss, which promised a new beginning. It was a warm embrace amidst the chaos they had faced, a symbol of overcoming and trust. The two were ready to face the future together, side by side. As they moved away from the tumult of the press conference, the sun began to set, reflecting the new light that illuminated their lives. They knew the journey was just beginning, but now, stronger and united, they were ready to face any challenge that came their way. Sometimes we're confronted with situations that challenge our logic and deepest feelings. When a mission that seemed like just a job turns into something that stirs your emotions, what do you do? How do you deal with the fine line between professionalism and personal desire? Reflecting on these moments can teach us a lot about ourselves and how we can grow from them. What have you learned by following this story? Have you ever gone through something similar that stirred your feelings in your life? Share your experiences in the comments and see how others deal with similar challenges. Enjoy and click on the video appearing on your screen now. This is, now, in my opinion, one of the best stories I've ever told. And if you liked what you just heard, you'll undoubtedly love this other story too. So subscribe to the channel, click on the video on your screen now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.